Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we're doing something that feels a little bit like time travel, actually. But it's probably more like reality calibration, if I had to name it.
Yeah, reality calibration's a good way to put it.
Right. Because
something-
usually when we talk about tech or market trends on the show, we're looking at, the next 6 months or maybe a year out. But today I really want to plant a flag.
We are planting it squarely in the future. Or I guess, depending on how fast things are moving right now, the very near present.
Exactly. I want everyone listening to just close your eyes for a second. Well, actually, unless you're driving.
Yeah.
Please don't close your eyes if you're behind the wheel.
Yeah, keep your eyes on the road, please.
But if you can just imagine, the calendar on the wall says February 2026.
February 2026. So we are deep in the thick of it at this point.
We really are. Like the initial explosion of the whole AI revolution, the big ChatGPT moment, the Gemini moment, all of that is in the rearview mirror. That was what, 2023, 2024?
Yeah, that was the hype phase.
Right. So by 2026, the party is essentially over and the hangover has set in. Or maybe the bill has just arrived.
Oh, the bill has definitely arrived. And honestly, that is the central tension of today's deep dive. We are calling it the investment paradox.
The investment paradox. I like that.
Because if you look at the headlines in our hypothetical 2026, you would totally think we were living in this absolute utopia of efficiency. But then you look at the bank accounts and
It's a completely different story.
Completely different.
So let's actually look at the numbers because they honestly just do not make sense at first glance. We have this source material today that paints a really specific picture. In 2026, 94% of companies are maintaining or actively increasing their AI spend.
They are doubling down.
Yeah, doubling down. Corporate AI spend has hit roughly 1.7% of total revenue.
Which is just a huge number. And just to contextualize that for you guys listening, 1.7% of revenue is not 1.7% of profit.
Right, it's off the top line.
Exactly, it's off the top line. For a Fortune 500 company, we are talking hundreds of millions of dollars. It's essentially a cash hose. Everyone is out there buying the shovel.
But here's the paradox. Here's the thing that's so wild. Despite 94% of companies turning on that cash hose, only 12% of CEOs are reporting both cost reduction and revenue growth.
That is the single statistic that should make every investor out there sweat.
Yeah, let's just pause on that 12% for a second, because that is statistically absurd. If you spend $100 million on cloud compute, on GPUs, on licensing, how do you get zero return?
Right.
Or worse, how do you get a negative return? I mean, is it that the return is just invisible, or is it actually zero?
Honestly, it's often worse than zero. It's what we call the shadow cost of implementation.
The shadow cost.
Yeah, think about it this way. You buy the AI tools, right? That's just sticker price. But then you have the compute costs, the token costs, every single time an employee prompts the model.
Oh, right. Those add up fast.
Oh, they do. Then you have the expensive consultants you hired to implement the whole thing. Then you have the productivity dip while your actual team figures out how to use it.
Which always takes longer than they say it will.
Always. So when you add all of that up, if the AI isn't fundamentally changing your actual business model, you are just adding an incredibly expensive layer of complexity on top of your existing mess.
So you're essentially just paying for the privilege of complicating your own business.
Precisely. It is the classic gold rush scenario, but in 2026, very few people are actually finding the gold. Most are just digging these very expensive holes and filling them with GPUs.
Filling them with GPUs, that's painfully accurate.
Okay.
So to understand why this is happening, why we have this massive disconnect, we have a really unusual source today.
It really is.
Yeah, it's not a white paper from a big consulting firm like McKinsey or Deloitte. It isn't a news article in the Wall Street Journal. It is actually an internal prompt.
It is such a fascinating artifact. It's an internal document, and it's titled The Executive AI Content Engine. Yeah. Very corporate. But specifically, it's a re-engineered prompt designed to help a senior mechanical design engineer and AI integration strategist write high-level LinkedIn content.
I have to say, I really love this as a source. Because if you think about it, a white paper is basically marketing rights.
100%.
And a news article is just observation. But a prompt is a literal set of instructions. It's a tool. It has to actually work.
Exactly. It functions as a cheat sheet for reality. If you want to write authentic content that actually gets engagement on LinkedIn in 2026, you really can't fake it.
No, people see right through it.
They do. The prompt explicitly says it has to strip away all the hype. It draws a really hard line between knowledge, which is just, knowing facts, and instruction, which is knowing what to actually do with them.
And the persona they chose here is key. This isn't a prompt for a self-proclaimed thought leader or a futurist. It's for a factory floor practitioner.
Someone with dirt under their fingernails.
Right, someone who has been bridging physical hardware and digital intelligence for over 12 years. Why does that specific distinction matter so much?
Because the thought leader lives completely in the abstract. They live in what the document calls slide deck reality.
Slide deck reality. I know that place well.
We all do. But the practitioner lives in physics reality. If you are a senior mechanical design engineer, you cannot hallucinate a bolt.
Right.
If the AI designs a part that doesn't actually fit the physical machine breaks, there is immediate, undeniable physical feedback. And that grinds all that corporate hype down to the truth very, very quickly.
So our mission today is to unpack the macro intelligence contained in this specific prompt. We're going to look at the world of 2026 through the eyes of this engineer.
We're going to see what's really happening with business and technology and labor.
And we're going to do it by dissecting the actual rules this prompt enforces.
And we're also going to look at how they talk about it, because this prompt has a banned words list that is absolutely hilarious and incredibly telling.
Oh, I can't wait to get to the banned words. It really shows us why so much corporate messaging is just failing flat right now.
It's failing hard.
Okay, let's unpack this. I want to jump back to that investment paradox. 94% spending, 12% succeeding. The source material has this incredible anecdote that I think just perfectly encapsulates the whole problem. They refer to it as the $1.8 million science fair.
This story is so painful because it is just so relatable. I think anyone who has worked in corporate tech in the last 5 years will feel this in their bones.
Yep.
So the source describes a client's actual manufacturing floor. The consultants walked in to audit their AI portfolio. This company had 14 active pilot programs running simultaneously.
14. That's a lot of spinning plates for any ops team.
It's an absolute zoo. And the centerpiece of this whole thing was this quote-unquote gorgeous real-time digital twin.
Let's actually define that for the listener who might not be working in manufacturing. A digital twin is basically a virtual replica of the physical factory, right?
Right. Ideally, it's this 3D model on a screen that mimics exactly what the machines are doing in real life. If a physical robot arm moves in the factory, the digital arm moves on the screen.
Like a video game of your own warehouse.
Exactly. It tracks the temperature, the speed, the output. It is supposed to be this ultimate God mode command center.
And the source says it made the boardroom presentation absolutely so.
Oh, of course it did. It's total eye candy. It looks exactly like the future we were promised.
Huh?
You put that on a massive 4K screen in a fancy boardroom with the spinning 3D graphics and the real-time data flow. The board just goes wild.
And they sign the check.
They sign a $1.8 million check.
But here is the punchline that really hurts. The actual operations team, the people running the factory wearing the hard hats on the floor, they never opened it, not even once.
Ouch.
Why, though? I mean, if it's so gorgeous and has all this data, why didn't they use it?
Because it didn't solve a single problem they actually had. Imagine you are the floor manager. You know machine A is overheating because you can physically hear it whining.
Right, you're standing right there.
Exactly. You know the conveyor belt is stuck because the alarm is blaring. Do you really need to log into a shiny dashboard, navigate through 3 different menus, and wait for a 3D model to load just to tell you what your own ears already know?
No. You just grab a wrench.
You grab a wrench. The digital twin was strategic innovation to the CTO. It absolutely justified his end-of-year bonus. But to the CFO, it was a $1.8 million science fair. And the source explicitly says both were right.
That is the perfect description of the science fair problem. You have these highly polished demos that look fantastic to leadership, but they literally do nothing for the people on the ground doing the work. It's strategic innovation that effectively just burns cash.
And the scary part is that anecdote isn't an outlier. By 2026, it's the norm. The source gives us the hard data here. A whopping 56% of firms report zero financial benefit from their AI implementations. Zero.
I have to push on that number a bit. Zero.
Really?
I mean, even if it's a clunky tool, surely it does something useful. How can you spend millions of dollars and get literally zero benefit?
It comes down to the implementation gap. If you build a tool that nobody uses, like that digital twin, your return is zero. But your cost was $1.8 million.
So the net is negative.
Exactly. technically your financial benefit is negative. You are deep in the hole.
That is wild.
And when you dig into the companies that are actually doing something that works, you see a very clear split. You have the 37% versus the 34%.
Break that split down for us. What are those two camps doing differently?
So 37% of companies are using AI for what the source calls surface augmentation.
Surface augmentation. That sounds a lot like putting lipstick on a pig.
It's pretty much exactly what it is. The source describes it as putting fresh paint on broken processes, or even more cuttingly, they call it manufacturing faster bottlenecks.
Manufacturing faster bottlenecks. I love that phrase so much. Can you give me an example of what that actually looks like in practice?
Sure. Imagine a standard customer service department. The old process is a customer emails a complaint, a human reads it, categorizes it, and then sends it to a specialist who has the authority to actually fix the problem.
Okay, makes sense.
The bottleneck in that flow is usually the specialist actually doing the fixing right.
Right, because there are only so many specialists.
Exactly. So surface augmentation is using AI to auto-categorize those incoming emails instantly. Great, now the emails are sorted in 1 second instead of 10 minutes.
Sounds like an improvement.
It sounds like one, but you haven't actually changed the speed of the specialist fixing the problem. All you've done is pile up the work in front of that specialist much, much faster.
Oh, I see.
You've accelerated the intake, but the output is exactly the same. Exactly. But then you have the 34%. These are the companies that are actually winning in 2026. They aren't just augmenting. They are deeply restructuring their operations around AI. They are flat out demolishing old workflows.
So in that same customer service example, what does the 34% do differently?
The 34% realizes the specialist step is the actual bottleneck. So they build an agentic system that doesn't just read and sort the email. It actually has the permission to access the backend database and issue the refund or reset the password without a human being ever touching it.
Wow.
They don't try to make the human faster. They completely remove the need for the human in that specific loop.
So the real difference between failure and success in 2026 isn't the technology itself, because everyone has access to the same baseline models. It's the willingness to tear down the old way of doing things.
Precisely. And that puts an immense amount of pressure on leadership. The source mentions that 75% of CEOs are now the primary AI decision makers.
75%, that's huge.
And that number has doubled since 2025. It is no longer being delegated down to the CIO or the CTO. The CEO has to own it.
Why the sudden shift? Why did the CEO have to take the keys?
Because the bill just got too big. When you are spending 1.7% of your gross revenue on tech that is not an IT budget anymore, that is a massive strategic bet.
Yeah, that's bet the company money.
Exactly. And if 56% of those bets are completely failing, the bully starts looking directly at the CEO.
And what are the stakes for them personal?
Existential. 50% of executives believe their tenure, their actual job security, depends entirely on their AI outcomes.
Wow.
So you have these CEOs who are terrified knowing they have to make this work, but most of them are stuck in that science fair trap.
Okay.
They bought the expensive shovel, but they have no idea where to actually dig.
That perfectly explains the anxiety we're seeing. It has moved from let's run a fun experiment to if this doesn't work, I'm getting fired tomorrow.
And that anxiety trickles down into absolutely everything. It completely changes how capital is allocated across the board. It changes who and how they hire, which brings us right to the economic landscape of 2026.
Let's talk about that economic shift. The source uses this term, SaaSmargeddon, which, first of all, great name. It sounds like a summer blockbuster movie.
It is a bit dramatic, but the underlying economics completely back it up.
And it connects directly to something they call the flatland effect. What exactly is going on with the economy in 2026? Let's start with SaaSmargeddon.
So SaaSmargeddon refers to the total collapse of margins in horizontal SaaS software as a service. For a long time, really, the last 15 years, SaaS was the golden child of the investment world.
Right. Incredible margins, recurring revenue.
Exactly. You build the software one time and you sell it to a million different people for $50 a month. It was an absolute money printing machine.
But in 2026, things change.
In 2026, AI code generation has become so incredibly good that basic software is essentially becoming a commodity. The marginal cost of writing standard software has dropped to near zero.
So if I'm a mid-sized company and I'm paying Salesforce, say, $100,000 a year for a CRM, and my internal strategic generalist can just build a custom CRM on top of our own database in a weekend, using a handful of AI agents.
Exactly. Why on earth would you pay that premium? If anyone can build a functional CRM in a weekend, the traditional moat around that CRM business completely evaporates. You simply cannot charge 80% margins on a commodity.
That makes so much sense.
That is sauce Morgeddon. The pricing power of the giant software wrappers is collapsing because their own customers can just build their own tailored tools.
That connects perfectly to the flatland effect. The source defines it as capital trapped in 2D software yields diminishing returns.
Right, so Flatland is a reference to that famous old novella about a two-dimensional world. In this specific context, Flightland is the world of screens, spreadsheets, dashboards, standard CRMs.
Anything that just lives on a monitor.
Yeah. The source is essentially saying if your entire business is just moving bits of data from one cell on a screen to another cell, you are in the kill zone. AI absolutely dominates Flatland. AI is fundamentally better at moving those bits than humans are.
So where is the smart money going then? If capital is fleeing flatland, where does it actually land?
It is aggressively migrating to the physical world. The source lists out the new value drivers: vertical AI, sovereign infrastructure, deep tech, and physical world capacity. It is all about bridging that digital intelligence back to the physical world.
So we're talking robotics,
Yes.
heavy manufacturing, energy grids.
Yes. Anything that involves actual atoms, not just bits. Because an AI can easily hallucinate a marketing email, but it absolutely cannot hallucinate a lithium mine.
Right.
It cannot hallucinate a robotic arm physically welding a car chassis.
But the source puts it this way, which I found really striking. The new moat isn't product features anymore. It is proprietary data plus deeply embedded workflows.
Deeply embedded is the crucial phrase there. It means your software is so physically tangled up in the machinery of the client that they literally cannot rip you out without breaking their factory.
Give me an example of that.
Okay, if your software controls the thermal regulation of a massive industrial bioreactor and you have 5 years of proprietary data on exactly how that specific reactor behaves under different loads, no off-the-shelf AI code generator can replicate that.
Because they don't have the history or the physical connection.
Exactly. That is a real moat in 2026.
So if I'm a smart investor in 2026, I am not looking for the next viral social app. I'm actually looking for the company that uses AI to optimize municipal sewage treatment.
Unironically, yes. Sewage treatment, global logistics, defense manufacturing, the really unsexy, gritty physical stuff.
And this has completely shifted who is doing the investing right. The source says generalist VCs are losing major ground. They're being overtaken by strategic LPs, corporate ventures, industrial family offices.
Yeah, the Patagonia Vest VCs hanging out on Sand Hill Road, who specialized in consumer photo apps, are really struggling. They don't know the first thing about auditing a copper mining operation.
Right. It's totally outside their wheelhouse.
The real money is now coming from the people who actually own those physical industries. They are investing heavily in the specialized AI that solves their very specific physical problems.
And how do these deep tech companies exit? I'm guessing it's not the big flashy IPO anymore.
No, not at all. The source points out that exits are mostly happening via structured M&A or private equity intervention, not broad public IPOs.
So no ringing the bell on Wall Street.
The era of the flashy tech IPO based on a simple software wrapper is basically over. You don't ring the bell in the NASDAQ queue for a flat land company anymore. Instead, you build something indispensable, and you get bought quietly by GE or Siemens.
That is a massive macroeconomic shift. We've gone from the whole software eats the world mantra to software is cheap, so let's actually build physical stuff again.
In a way, yes. But it's smart building. It is the deep integration of that incredibly cheap, powerful intelligence into very complex physical systems.
Now, if the companies are changing this drastically, the jobs obviously must be changing too. The source has this whole section on workforce transformation that honestly looks a little bit scary for a lot of people.
It is a major, major disruption. There is no sugarcoating it. The source cites the World Economic Forum saying that 54% of global employees need significant reskilling by 2026.
I could play devil's advocate here for a second. We've heard this reskilling panic for, 10 years now? Every single time a new tech comes out, mobile, cloud, crypto, blockchain, all the consultants scream, reskill. Is this actually different this time, or is it just another big consulting firm trying to sell expensive training modules?
That is a completely fair skepticism to have. Usually the reskilling panic is just about learning a new tool, like learn how to use Excel, learn how to navigate Slack.
Exactly, just learning a new interface.
This is fundamentally different because it is actually about displacement. The source identifies the highest displacement risk right now is in entry-level engineering, copywriting, and marketing.
Which brings us right back to the Sosmargeddon and Flatland idea. If the AI writes the basic code and drafts the standard copy,
Then you simply do not need a junior person to sit there and do the first draft. The AI is the junior person. It is the intern that literally never sleeps and never complains.
so if the entry level is essentially gone, what replaces it? The source talks a lot about the ascent of this new role called the strategic generalist.
This is honestly my favorite concept in the entire document. For the last 20 years, the standard career advice was always niche down. The riches are in the niches.
But totally. Be the absolute best at one tiny thing.
Be the absolute best at React Native mobile coding. Be the undisputed expert in technical SEO copywriting for dental clinics. Now, niche execution is basically free. The AI does the highly niche technical work perfectly and instantly, so the value premium is rapidly shifting from task execution to the orchestration of autonomous agent fleets.
Orchestration of autonomous agent fleets. That sounds so sci-fi. Let's try to ground that for the listener. What does a strategic generalist actually do on a random Tuesday morning?
Okay, let's role play this out. Imagine you are a strategic generalist working at a mid-sized logistics company. You sit down at your desk with your coffee. You aren't opening a Python code editor. You aren't opening a blank Word doc to write an update.
Okay, so what am I opening?
You are opening a master dashboard where you manage, say, 5 different specialized AI agents.
Just watching them work?
Essentially, yes. One agent is constantly monitoring global fuel prices. Another agent is optimizing your fleet's truck routes in real time based on traffic. A third agent is automatically negotiating spot rates with freelance drivers.
Oh.
Your job is not to drive the truck or hash out the rate on the phone. Your job is to supervise the agents. So you look at the screen and you see the route agent is currently arguing with the fuel agent.
They argue.
They conflict based on their parameters. The route agent wants to take a faster highway route, but the fuel agent says it's too expensive because of tolls and fuel efficiency.
So they are stuck.
Right. So you, the human, step in and make the high-level business judgment call. You look at it and say, Client X really needs this specific package by 9 a.m. to keep their factory running, so ignore the fuel costs this time and take the fast route. You break the tie. You are the conductor of the orchestra. You are no longer the one playing the violin.
That is a fundamentally different job description.
Yeah.
You are essentially a manager of software.
You are a manager of infinite scalable labor.
And this connects directly to the tool fatigue mentioned in the source right. The document says operators are flat out rejecting AI wrappers.
Yeah, people are smart. They quickly realize that paying $20 a month for some AI writing assistant that is literally just a thin wrapper around GPT-5 is a total waste of money. They are sick of having 50 different microsubscription tools.
What do they do instead?
They build their own. The source mentions integration tools like Zapier and N8N. Regular non-technical employees are building their own complex custom automations. This is the new shadow IT revolution.
Shadow IT.
Yeah, the marketing manager isn't submitting a ticket and waiting 6 months for the IT department to build an internal tool. She is just wiring together an agent that scrapes LinkedIn, automatically writes a custom draft post, and drops it into her Slack for a quick approval. She built her own bespoke software stack over the weekend.
It really is the democratization of software engineering. But it also sounds like an absolute nightmare of chaos for the company's security team.
Oh, it is total chaos. But it is highly productive chaos. And this leads directly to what they call the agentic economy. The source notes a crazy stat here. 40% of enterprise apps will feature autonomous AI agents by the end of 2026.
20%.
Yeah, and that is up from less than 5% just a year or two prior.
I want to clarify something really quick for the listeners because we keep throwing around the word agent. How is an agent actually different from a standard tool or a regular chatbot?
That is a great question and a super important distinction. It is basically the difference between a simple hammer and a skilled carpenter.
Okay, I like that.
A standard tool is just a hammer. It sits on the workbench doing absolutely nothing until a human picks it up and physically swings it. A chatbot is also just a tool. It sits there waiting patiently for you to type a prompt and ask a question.
Right, it's reactive.
Exactly. An agent, however, is the carpenter. You don't hand it a hammer, you tell the agent, build me a chair. And the agent has the agency, the actual system permissions to go figure out where the hammer is, find the right wood, saw the wood to length, and nail it all together.
Without asking for permission at every step.
Exactly. In software terms, an agent isn't just generating a paragraph of text. It actually has permission to execute SQL queries on your live database, access external APIs, send out real emails to clients, and update records without you having to click approve on every single microstep.
That lack of a constant human in the loop is where all that incredible speed comes from.
And it is also where all the massive risk comes from, which is exactly why orchestration is the critical new skill. You have to know how to properly supervise the AI carpenter so he doesn't accidentally build a dining table with only 3 legs.
Software is literally moving from being a tool that you use to being labor that you manage. That is a massive paradigm shift. Now, all of this, the massive spending, the autonomous agents, the deep physical integration, it is all happening on a complex global stage.
Yeah.
And the rules of the game are wildly different depending on where you physically operate.
The regulatory patchwork, yes, this is a critical part of the 2026 landscape. If you are a multinational company, this is basically your daily nightmare.
The source breaks it down nicely by region. Let's actually play out a scenario to understand this. Let's say I am Global Brand X. I'm selling high-end sneakers. I want to launch a massive, fully AI-generated ad campaign worldwide. Let's see what happens to me. First stop on the tour, India.
Okay, so in India, you immediately hit the IT Rules Amendment 2026, and it is incredibly aggressive. The major headline item there is the mandatory 3-hour deepfake takedown law.
3 hours. That is incredibly fast for a massive platform.
It is basically real-time enforcement. If your generative AI creates a sneaker ad that someone credibly claims is a deepfake of a local celebrity, or it violates a cultural norm, the platform hosting it has exactly 3 hours to completely scrub it from the internet.
How do you even do that operationally? A human lawyer cannot possibly review and adjudicate a complex takedown request in 3 hours.
Exactly. You can't do it with human lawyers. You have to build the compliance directly into the technical infrastructure. India also requires verifiable AI content traceability.
Traceability, you know what?
Meaning your AI sneaker ad needs to have a cryptographic digital watermark baked deep into the actual pixels that permanently says I was made by AI model X on the specific date.
Okay, so for India, I need automated instant takedowns and pixel-level watermarking. Got it. Now I fly over to the European Union.
The EU is a totally different vibe. They are heavily dealing with the economic fallout of the original AI Act. So in 2026, they have introduced the Digital Omnibus.
Why did they need an omnibus?
They realized the original AI Act was literally crushing their domestic tech economy, so they are actively trying to ease the administrative burden. They have implemented a stop-the-clock mechanism, which essentially extends the compliance timelines for high-risk AI out to late 2027 or 2028.
So they basically blinked.
They totally blinked. They realized they were regulating their own innovation to death while the US and Asia ran ahead. So for your global sneaker ad, you might not have to officially register it as a high-risk system anymore.
Well, good. That saves me some paperwork.
But you still have to deal with the heavy GDPR legacy and strict data transparency rules. You have to be able to mathematically prove that the specific data used to train the model that generated the sneaker ad didn't violate any European copyrights.
Oh, okay. So in India, I need watermarks. In the EU, I need ironclad training data documentation. Now I bring my campaign to the United States.
The US is just the Wild West. Or rather, it's a completely fragmented map. You have aggressive state-level enforcement, California, Texas, Colorado, all doing their own completely different things.
No federal standard.
Very little. The federal focus is mostly just on algorithmic discrimination and what they call radical transparency.
So if my sneaker ad dynamically targets people based on their zip code, and the underlying AI inadvertently excludes a certain protected demographic,
you get massively sued in California immediately. And then maybe Texas has a completely different rule about processing biometric data if your ad happens to show a generated face.
this sounds genuinely impossible to navigate. How does a modern company actually operate globally like this?
The source document gives the exact answer. Privacy as infrastructure. You can no longer treat compliance as a post hoc legal exercise. You can't just have an external team of lawyers look at it before launch.
It'd have to be automated.
It has to be an engineering discipline. You have to literally build the legal compliance into the core code itself. Your routing system has to be smart enough to say, oh, this user is loading the ad in Mumbai. Instantly apply the cryptographic watermark. Oh, this user is in Berlin. automatically log the exact training data provenance.
So the general counsel and the lead engineer essentially had to be best friends.
Or they literally have to be the same person. Or, honestly, more likely, it's a strategic generalist managing a specialized legal compliance agent.
It always comes right back to the agents, doesn't it? Okay, so we have covered the massive investment paradox, the shifting economy, the workforce reskilling, and the global legal nightmare. But how do we actually talk about all of this? This brings us to the core purpose of the source document, the executive AI content engine prompt itself.
This is honestly my absolute favorite part of the document, because corporate communication in 2026 is in a massive, full-blown crisis.
A crisis of discovery, as the prompt calls it.
Yes, the zero-click economy. The source highlights that 44% of all digital properties are currently seeing flat or rapidly declining traffic.
44%. Why is it dropping so fast?
Because generative AI is just answering the user queries directly right there on the search page without ever sending a click outward to a website.
Right. If I ask my AI assistant, what are the new rules for AI takedowns in India? It just synthesizes the answer and tells me. I have zero reason to click on the link to the expensive law firm's blog post.
Exactly. You get the answer and you move on. And furthermore, 20% of daily search queries have literally never been seen before. It is real-time dynamic intent. So that whole old-school SEO game of writing articles to target specific keywords is just completely dead. You cannot target a keyword that didn't even exist 5 minutes ago.
And what about LinkedIn? Since this entire prompt is specifically designed for LinkedIn content.
The LinkedIn algorithm in 2026 is brutal. External links automatically suppress your post's reach by about 60%?
60%.
Yeah, if you try to link out to your company blog, your post essentially dies in the feed. And then there is what the source calls the viral illusion.
What exactly is the viral illusion?
It's the trap of engagement bait. Clickbait content gets 3.5 times more impressions in the feed, but it yields exactly 0 pipeline conversion. You might get 1 million views on a flashy post that says 5 AI tools you need now W, but literally nobody buys your consulting services because every serious buyer knows it's just AI-generated fluff.
So to actually cut through this wall of noise, the prompt enforces very strict rules for the writer. And the banned words list in this document is just, it's chef's kiss. It is a literal list of words that immediately signal to the reader, I am a out-of-touch boardroom theorist who has no idea what is actually happening on the floor.
Let's read a few of them because I really want to roast these properly. Number 1, delve.
Banned. Instantly banned. Why is delve public enemy number 1?
Because delve is the ultimate hallmark of lazy ChatGPT 3.5 and 4 generation. It was a word those early models just absolutely loved to overuse. Let's delve into this complex topic.
Oh, I've read that sentence 1,000 times.
We all have. If you use the word delve in a professional post in 2026, you are loudly signaling to everyone, I did not write this. I pasted a prompt into a chatbot and I didn't even bother to proofread it. It's a shibboleth. It permanently marks you as lazy to any serious reader.
What about harness or unleash?
Gone. Unleash the power of AI. It is pure marketing hype. It means absolutely nothing mechanically. The factory floor practitioner persona we talked about earlier, they do not unleash things. They build things, they fix things, they deploy things. You unleash a mythical dragon, you deploy a relational database.
What about landscape or game changer? Tectonic, paradigm shift, synergy.
All completely banned. Fluff.
There's a line in the prompt instructions that I think sums it up perfectly. No one here needs a dictionary or a hug.
I absolutely love that line. It speaks directly to the required tone of the content. Ruthlessly specific. The source literally commands the writer assume intelligence and reward attention. Business leaders are so utterly tired of AI-generated fluff pieces, they desperately want raw, verified ground-level truth.
The prompt also enforces something called the so what test.
Yes, on every single paragraph. You have to look at the paragraph and ask, why should the reader actually care about this? If the text doesn't explicitly answer that question, you delete the paragraph. No mercy.
So how do we actually fix the systemic problems we talked about earlier? How do we solve the $1.8 million science fair problem? Because the prompt doesn't just complain, it actually offers a specific framework called DDR.
Yes, this DDR framework. Demolish, deploy, deliver.
Let's break those 3 down, starting with demolish.
This goes right back to that 34% deep restructuring stat. Demolish the legacy process. Do not try to optimize it. If you have a fundamentally broken, inefficient workflow, do not just use AI to make it run 20% faster. Completely destroy the workflow and start from scratch.
Deploy.
Deploy true agentic systems, not reactive tools that need constant human hand-holding and prompting. Deploy autonomous systems that can reliably execute complex multi-step tasks entirely on their own.
And finally, deliver.
Deliver actual results to the P&L, the profit and loss statement, not to some vanity pilot dashboard. If the AI implementation does not provably make money or save money in a highly measurable, audited way, it is a failure, period.
I really love the mechanical analogy the host commentary in the source uses to explain this. You don't bolt a turbocharger onto a cracked engine block.
It is such a visceral, perfect image, and it perfectly explains why 56% of companies are seeing zero financial benefit. They are spending millions trying to turbocharge inherently cracked engines.
The source document also suggests running every piece of content and really every strategy through 3 adversarial lenses before publishing. This is supposedly a quality control mechanism for the LinkedIn posts, but honestly, it feels like an incredibly robust framework for making any business decision in 2026.
It really is.
I actually want to try this out live. I am going to be the adversary. I'll play the rules. You use the DDR framework to defend the prompt.
All right, let's do it. I'm ready.
Okay, lens 1. I am the highly skeptical CFO. I am looking across the table at your proposal for a massive new AI pilot. And I say, show me the money. Where is the actual hard proof that this works and isn't just another science fair?
And I would reply directly citing the source framework. I am not promising you vague innovation. I am promising you that we will demolish the legacy customer service intake process, reducing our baseline headcount costs by 40%. And we will deploy an autonomous agent that reliably handles 90% of Tier 1 tickets. Here is the exact math based on the 34% of peer companies who have successfully done it.
Okay, you brought actual data and a P&L impact. I'm listening.
Yeah.
Now let's switch to lens 2. I am the overworked junior professional. I look at your plan and I say, look, this sounds great for the company's bottom line, but can I actually use this thing on Monday morning? Or is this just yet another clunky tool I have to spend 10 hours learning how to prompt?
And I would tell you, you absolutely can use it Monday, because in fact, you don't even use it at all. It simply takes the most boring, repetitive work completely off your plate. You stop manually categorizing those intake emails. You shift to managing the edge case exceptions. It makes your Monday vastly easier, not harder.
Good answer. Alleviates the tool fatigue. Now, the final test lens 3. I am your direct competitor. I am looking at your public strategic plan, and I am going to actively try to poke holes in it. Your historical data is dirty. Your back-end infrastructure is a decade old. You cannot possibly pull off this automation.
And I would preempt that by saying you are absolutely right. Our data is incredibly dirty. That is exactly why Phase 1 of this project is not an AI implementation. Phase 1 is a brutal 3-month data cleaning and structuring sprint. We are actively preempting your objection. We are not skipping the hard, boring work just to get to the shiny AI part.
See, that is incredibly strong messaging. If every single enterprise company ran their internal AI pilots through those exact 3 lenses, the CFO, the junior pro, and the competitor, we probably wouldn't have 14 completely unused pilots sitting on a factory floor.
We certainly wouldn't. We would definitely have far fewer pilots running, but the ones we did have would actually drive real value.
So as we kind of wrap up this deep dive into the realities of 2026, what is the ultimate big takeaway here for the listener?
For me, the biggest shift is moving from this era of abstract knowledge to an era of verifiable truth. The source document says it plainly: specificity wins. In a business world that is just completely flooded with cheap AI noise, synthetic content, and surface-level science fair pilots, the only thing that actually cuts through the static is verifiable, undeniable, factory floor truth.
It really is not about the hype anymore. The breathless hype cycle is definitively over. Now it is just about the grind. It is about the 34% who are genuinely willing to demolish the comfortable old ways to build something that actually works in physics reality.
And it is about the strategic generalists who are brave enough and skilled enough to orchestrate that whole messy transition.
Exactly. Now, usually at the end of a deep dive, we just wrap up with a little summary. But the source material today has a very specific, explicit instruction for call to actions. Never, ever ask the word thoughts.
Yeah. Thoughts is just the ultimate lazy way out. It completely puts all the cognitive burden back onto the reader.
So in the strict spirit of the executive AI content engine, we're going to end by asking you a very specific, highly answerable question. This comes straight out of the source's Topic A post strategy.
Here's the question for you to mull over. What is the one AI pilot in your own life or your own organization right now that everyone celebrates internally but nobody has actually shipped to full production? And what is the real, actual thing blocking it?
And be honest. Not the polite corporate reason. Not, oh, we're just waiting on a final compliance review.
Yeah.
The real reason, is it fundamentally a cracked engine block? Is it internal political fear?
Or is it just a really gorgeous, expensive dashboard that nobody actually needs to do their job?
Really think about that. And maybe start applying the DDR framework to it today. Demolish, deploy, deliver.
Because honestly, it is the only real way out of the science fair.
Thanks for diving into the future with us today. We will see you all next time.
Stay specific, everyone.